Gentlemen, I am going to start with something that may shock you. In the past year alone, I have spoken with countless men over the age of 60 who woke up one morning and realized that their little guy simply stopped responding. No warning, no explanation, no control. One day they felt like themselves, and the next nothing happened. Not even the slightest reaction. For many, it felt like their masculinity had been ripped away overnight, stolen in silence, and the pain of that moment is deeper than most will ever admit. The humiliation of trying and failing. The fear in your partner's eyes when she pretends it doesn't matter. The quiet excuses to avoid intimacy. The feeling of aging faster than your body deserves. The shame of wondering if life has passed you by. Some men told me they would rather die than face another night of disappointment. Not because of sex, but because of what losing control represents. Dignity, confidence, identity. But here is the paradox that almost no one knows. The issue is not your age, not low testosterone, and not lack of desire. In many cases, the real cause is something surprisingly simple and reversible, a hidden internal imbalance that chokes the blood flow needed for an erection. And once you correct it, the body can respond again rapidly, sometimes within minutes. Today I will show you a simple natural method using baking soda blended with one common household ingredient that has helped men reignite real erections in 24 hours or less, without pills, without embarrassment, and without side effects. My name is Dr. William Lee, physician, researcher, and author with over 30 years of experience studying how the body heals itself through nutrition, vascular science, and cellular biology. I have spent my career at the intersection of medicine and food science, and I am here to share with you what that research has revealed about restoring the male body naturally. Before we go any further, if this message is already speaking to you, take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications. I create these lessons specifically for men in your stage of life, and you deserve real solutions grounded in science, not empty promises. And I want to know you're here. If this resonates with you so far, type the number 1 in the comments. If you feel uncertain or skeptical, type 0 and tell me what you're hoping to overcome. Your voice matters, and your honesty helps shape what we uncover next. Now, let's get into exactly why erections fade after 50 and what is really happening inside your body that turns the switch off. Because once you understand the biology, you will finally see how to turn it back on. 1. Why erections fade after 50. Most men never see it coming. One night, everything feels normal, powerful, alive, and then without warning, something changes. You try to respond to desire, to touch, to the person who has shared years of life with you, and suddenly nothing happens. Not even the slightest sign of strength. It is as if the body you trusted your entire life has quietly turned against you. Many men describe that moment as the most frightening silence they have ever felt, not because of sex, but because of what it symbolizes. The feeling that time is suddenly winning, the fear that something once automatic has slipped out of reach. Some men lie awake afterward, staring at the ceiling, hoping it was only stress or a bad day. But days become weeks, and the quiet panic grows. You start avoiding intimacy. You pretend to be tired. You turn away in bed. You begin to fear your partner's disappointment more than anything in the world. You feel older than you are. You wonder if you've lost the part of yourself that made you feel like a man. And somewhere deep inside, you ask what every man eventually asks. Why now? Why me? What changed? Here is the truth that most men never hear. Erections rarely disappear because of desire or attraction or masculinity. They fade because the internal system responsible for creating them begins to break down slowly and quietly. After 50, the arteries that carry blood into the penis begin to stiffen. Natural nitric oxide levels fall. Circulation becomes weaker. The blood that once surged through healthy, pliable vessels now struggles to reach where it is needed most. And without blood, there is no erection. As a researcher who has studied vascular biology extensively, I can tell you clearly, this is not weakness. It is not failure. It is not inevitable aging in the way society tells you it is. It is biology, and biology can be influenced. One change in blood flow can transform confidence into fear, power into silence, intimacy into distance. And yet the most painful part is not the physical loss. It is the emotional weight, the feeling of drifting away from your partner, the way you question your worth, the way you start living smaller, quieter, hidden. Many men carry this burden alone, believing there is no way back, believing the damage is permanent. But what if the body is not failing you? What if the real reason erections fade is not irreversible? What if the system can be revived and faster than you ever imagined? Because the moment you understand how nitric oxide controls blood flow, everything changes. And in the next section, we will reveal exactly how it works and why restoring it can bring your strength roaring back. 2. The role of nitric oxide A&D circulation. Most men don't realize this, but the strength of an erection has almost nothing to do with testosterone or desire alone. You can have all the desire in the world, and still nothing will happen if one tiny molecule inside your body is missing. And here is the finding that years of vascular research have confirmed. More than 70% of erectile problems in men over 50 come from a single physiological cause: low nitric oxide. Not hormones, not age, not lack of attraction. A microscopic chemical signal that controls the flood of blood into the penis. Without it, there is no hardness. Without it, the body cannot respond. Without it, the system is silent. Nitric oxide is the master switch of male vascular performance. It tells the arteries leading to the penis to open wide, to relax, to let blood surge in fast and fill the chambers that create firmness. When nitric oxide is flowing, the response is rapid. The body reacts before the brain finishes thinking. Confidence replaces hesitation. Pressure builds like a heartbeat. Strength returns naturally. But when nitric oxide levels fall, the opposite happens. The arteries tighten. The smooth muscle around them stiffens. Blood moves slowly and weakly. The penis tries to fill, but it is like turning on a faucet connected to a clogged pipe. Nothing comes through, and the harder you try, the more you feel it slipping further away. By the time a man reaches 50, his nitric oxide production has already dropped by nearly half. After 60, it can fall by more than 75%. I have reviewed the science behind this extensively, and the data is consistent and undeniable. That is why erections fade even when desire does not. That is why intimacy becomes unpredictable. That is why pharmaceutical options become the only temporary hope for so many men. But pills don't create nitric oxide. They simply force the vascular system to work harder with what little remains. No wonder they stop working. No wonder the body crashes afterward. No wonder men feel hopeless and defeated when the pills fail. But imagine something different. Imagine restoring nitric oxide naturally. Imagine blood returning to full force. Imagine that first moment when the body finally responds again, not because it was forced, but because it was supported. That is what real recovery feels like. That is what every man deserves to experience again, no matter his age. And here is where the story takes a turn most men never expect. Because there is a simple natural method that can rapidly increase nitric oxide, restore circulation, and switch the system back on. And it begins with something sitting right inside your own kitchen. Not a medication, not a supplement, something far more accessible and far more powerful. In the next section, you will discover what makes baking soda so extraordinary for men over 60 and why it may be the missing key your body has been waiting for. 3. The hidden power of baking soda here is something that will shock most men. One of the most powerful natural tools for restoring erections is not a prescription drug, not an expensive supplement, and not some exotic botanical compound from the other side of the world. It is a simple white powder sitting quietly in nearly every kitchen, baking soda. And the reason it matters is deeper and more scientifically meaningful than most of us ever realize. For years, men over 60 have been told that losing erections is just a normal part of aging, that once it starts to fade, life is never the same. But the science I have dedicated my career to studying tells a very different story. The body is not falling apart. In many cases, it is simply operating in an internal environment that has become increasingly hostile to healthy blood flow. The truth is, most men over 50 are living with a dangerously elevated level of internal acidity. Chronic stress, ultra-processed foods, alcohol, excess sugar, systemic inflammation, and declining metabolic function gradually push the blood into a more acidic state. And when internal pH tilts toward acidity, the blood vessels responsible for carrying blood into the penis constrict, they tighten like a compressed tube. Oxygen delivery drops, circulation weakens, nitric oxide production is suppressed. The body tries to respond, but it is working against itself. In that state, no amount of desire, mental arousal, or sheer willpower can force adequate blood into the penis. The vascular pathway is functionally blocked. This is precisely where baking soda becomes remarkable from a physiological standpoint. Sodium bicarbonate, the scientific name for baking soda, is a natural alkalizing agent that instantly neutralizes excess acidity in the bloodstream, allowing the blood vessel walls to relax and dilate again. With acidity reduced, circulation improves, oxygen delivery returns, and nitric oxide can activate naturally. What was blocked begins to move. What was suppressed begins to wake. Many men describe this shift as a sudden warmth in the lower body, a pressure building, a feeling that the switch has been flipped back on, not artificial, not forced, but biological. The body responding the way it was always designed to, and the emotional impact of that first moment cannot be overstated. Because the first time a man feels his body returning, even slightly, everything changes. Hope replaces fear. Strength replaces shame. Distance between partners begins to close. But here is the most significant part. Baking soda alone is powerful, but when combined with one specific ingredient, the effect multiplies dramatically and can awaken blood flow in as little as 30 to 90 minutes. And the ingredient I am about to reveal is something every man has access to, yet almost no one understands its full vascular potential. In the next section, you will discover exactly what that ingredient is and why the two together can transform everything. 4. The partner ingredient that unlocks full power. Most men will find this hard to believe, but the ingredient that transforms baking soda from a simple household compound into a powerful circulation activating formula is not a medication, not an expensive supplement, and not some rare superfood. It is something so ordinary, so common, that most men walk past it in their kitchen every single day without ever understanding what it can do for their vascular health. That ingredient is fresh lemon juice. And when baking soda and lemon juice come together, a chemical reaction begins that can change everything for a man who has been struggling in silence. What makes this combination so extraordinary is how quickly and deeply it works at the cellular level. When lemon juice mixes with baking soda, it produces a surge of carbon dioxide and natural citrates that expand and relax blood vessels throughout the body. Simultaneously, the bioactive compounds in fresh lemon, particularly hesperidin and vitamin C, stimulate nitric oxide synthase, the enzyme responsible for producing nitric oxide in the arterial walls. That biochemical signal travels directly to the arteries supplying the erectile tissue, allowing blood to rush in with a force most men haven't experienced in years. This is not artificial stimulation. It is not a forced pharmacological response like the temporary effect of a pill. It is your body's own vascular intelligence remembering how it is supposed to function, responding naturally, fully, confidently. Many men I have worked with describe what happens after drinking this blend correctly as a sensation they haven't felt in decades. A subtle warmth moving through the lower body, a tightening that feels like strength returning, a pressure building like the body waking up from a long and unnecessary sleep. And for some men, it happens with remarkable speed, within 30 to 90 minutes. That moment is often profoundly emotional. Men have described standing in silence with tears in their eyes because for the first time in years, they recognize themselves again. Not the man who felt broken or invisible, but the man who still carried life and vitality inside him. This is why I call it the partner ingredient. Baking soda neutralizes the acidity that blocks blood flow, while lemon juice ignites the biochemical spark that brings it roaring back. One without the other is helpful. Together, they can be transformational. And the beauty of this approach lies in its simplicity and accessibility. No prescription, no side effects, no humiliation, just two everyday ingredients creating a natural vascular reaction that unlocks what aging and lifestyle tried to suppress. But if you think this combination alone is where the science ends, you are mistaken. Because timing and dosage are everything. Use it incorrectly, and the effect may be minimal. Use it correctly, and the results can feel almost unreal. In the next section, I will break down the exact formula and the optimal window during the day when this blend delivers its most powerful impact. 5. The daily formula A and D timing that change everything most men assume that if something this effective were real, they would have already heard about it. But here is the scientific reality. The reason most men never feel the full benefit of baking soda and lemon is not because it doesn't work. It is because they never use it at the right time and in the right way. Timing can mean the difference between a negligible response and a surge of circulation that feels almost unbelievable. The body is not a machine you can activate at any arbitrary moment. It responds to rhythm, biochemical cues, and precision. When you provide it with exactly the right input at exactly the moment it is most prepared to receive it, the results can feel like turning the key in an engine that has been waiting years to start. The formula itself is simple, but the timing is where the science lives. Half a teaspoon of baking soda, the juice of half a fresh lemon, 8 to 10 ounces of warm water. Stir gently and drink immediately while the reaction is still active. Warm water matters because it dilates peripheral blood vessels and accelerates the absorption of the alkalizing compounds. Drinking on an empty stomach amplifies the effect significantly. When taken first thing in the morning, the body redirects its internal chemistry toward restoring natural circulation before the stress and acidity of the day accumulate. When taken 45 to 60 minutes before intimacy, the nitric oxide response is heightened and blood flow increases with precision and speed. Many men I have guided through this protocol describe their first correctly timed experience with notable emotion, a calm warmth moving downward, a feeling of fullness and strength they had not known in years, pressure building steadily, not forced, not artificial, but real. A reminder that the body is still capable, still responsive, still alive. For so many men, that single moment breaks months or years of silent suffering. Instead of fear, there is hope. Instead of shame, there is quiet pride. Instead of distance, there is the possibility of connection again. But this is only the beginning. Because there is a critical multiplier, something most men have never heard even their physicians mention, that can amplify the effect of this formula beyond what they expect. A technique that increases pelvic blood pressure and intensifies the nitric oxide response, making the difference between modest improvement and a full restoration of confidence and function. In the next section, you will discover exactly what that multiplier is and why so many men describe it as the turning point in their recovery. 6. The final multiplier men never expect most men believe that erections are governed solely by hormones or medication. But here is what the physiology actually shows. Some of the most powerful improvements in erectile function come not from what you swallow, but from what you activate in the body in the minutes that follow. And almost no man over 60 is ever told this. Physicians rarely mention it. Commercials ignore it entirely. And yet, the evidence is clear and well documented. You can dramatically amplify blood flow to the penis using a simple physical activation technique that takes fewer than 5 minutes and can accelerate erectile recovery faster than most men ever imagined possible. And when paired with the baking soda and lemon formula, the combined effect can be genuinely astonishing. What I am referring to is intentional pelvic activation, slow, controlled diaphragmatic breathing paired with targeted pelvic floor contractions, commonly known as Kegel training for men. Most people mistakenly believe Kegel exercises are only for women, but men have the same pelvic floor muscle group, the ischiocavernosus and bulbocavernosus muscles, and these play a direct and critical role in controlling blood flow into the erectile chambers and maintaining pressure once it arrives. When these muscles weaken with age, blood escapes too quickly. Erections soften, duration shortens, sensation diminishes, and confidence collapses. But when these muscles are activated with strength and precision, they function like a pressure valve, forcing blood to remain inside the erectile chambers, increasing hardness, duration, and intensity of sensation. I have worked with men who walked into a consultation feeling permanently defeated, certain their biology was beyond repair. And after learning this technique, something shifted. Because strengthening the pelvic floor is not just about achieving an erection, it is about reclaiming control. It is about recovering the physical agency that age and neglect quietly took away. It is about standing taller, breathing deeper, and rediscovering the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your body responds when you call upon it. And when you pair this activation with the nitric oxide surge triggered by baking soda and lemon, something remarkable happens at the vascular level. The blood arrives. The muscles hold it, and the body remembers the strength that once came naturally and automatically. For many men, this combination marks the shift from doubt to certainty. But if there is one thing that can undermine every bit of progress you make, it is something lurking in the food you eat and the habits you may not even realize are destroying your circulation. In the next section, we will expose the hidden acid traps that silently weaken blood flow and steal erections without warning. 7. The shocking truth about acid imbalance destroying circulation, most men have no idea that the very foods and daily habits they rely on may be silently degrading their blood flow, constricting their circulation, and stealing the strength of their erections without a single visible warning sign. But here is what the research consistently shows. The number one enemy of male vascular performance after 60 is not low testosterone, not age, and not genetics. It is chronic internal acidity, an invisible physiological condition that constricts blood vessels, suppresses nitric oxide production, and progressively starves the erectile tissue of the blood it needs. Every time internal acidity rises, the arterial walls respond by contracting. The lumen narrows, blood flow slows, and the systems responsible for male function are quietly starved of the oxygen and nutrients they require. You do not feel it happening. There is no alert. There is no red flag, just silence, until one day the response disappears and a man is left wondering what went wrong. Think about the cumulative weight of modern life. Chronic psychological stress. Convenience foods loaded with refined carbohydrates and hidden sodium. Late night snacking. The coffee that keeps you functional. The alcohol used to decompress. The ultra-processed foods packed with chemical preservatives. Each one pushes the internal environment deeper into acidity. Each one forces the blood vessels to constrict a little more. Instead of expanding and opening like a healthy, elastic river, they tighten and narrow until blood flow slows to a fraction of what it once was. The blood that once surged into the penis with force now struggles simply to arrive. Intimacy becomes unpredictable. Erections weaken. The mind begins to fear what the body once trusted instinctively, and slowly, pain replaces pride. But the emotional burden is far heavier than the physical one, because men do not talk about this. They hide it. They carry it silently. They pretend everything is fine, while inside they feel like something vital has gone missing. They withdraw from their partners not from lack of love, but from terror of failing again. Many convince themselves this is simply aging, that nothing can be done, that this is the beginning of the end. But it is not. The truth is that once you remove the acidic restriction on your blood vessels, circulation can return rapidly. Vascular function can be restored. And this is precisely why sodium bicarbonate becomes so significant. It neutralizes that acidity quickly, allowing the arterial walls to relax and dilate again. Combined with a partner ingredient and used at the optimal time, the transformation can be shockingly fast. In the next section, I will give you a precise step-by-step checklist that shows you exactly how to make this work in real life, so you can stop guessing and finally experience measurable, reproducible results. 8. The simple checklist that creates real results here is something important. Most men do not fail because their bodies are too damaged or too old to respond. They fail because they attempt random solutions without a coherent plan, jumping from pills to supplements to contradictory advice, never giving their biology what it truly needs in a structured and consistent way. But when you follow a simple, precise checklist built on vascular science and physiological research, results stop being accidental and start becoming predictable. A man does not need luck. He needs a system. And when that system is followed step by step, the body responds with strength most men thought was permanently lost. The first step is clearing internal acidity each morning. Start the day with a baking soda and lemon formula on an empty stomach so blood vessels can dilate and nitric oxide can activate naturally before anything else enters the system. The second step is hydration. 2 full glasses of clean water within the first hour of waking to improve blood viscosity and enhance oxygen delivery. Thick, sluggish blood moves slowly. Hydrated blood moves with velocity and force. The third step is movement, even 5 minutes of gentle walking or light activity, because motion drives blood downward into the pelvic region and begins restoring vascular pressure and tissue fullness. The fourth step is pelvic activation. 10 slow pelvic floor contractions paired with deep diaphragmatic breathing to strengthen the muscular valve that holds blood inside the erectile chambers once it arrives. And the fifth step is eliminating the 3 most damaging circulation suppressors for just 7 days: refined sugar, alcohol consumed before bed, and heavy late-night meals. These are the acid accelerators that undo overnight whatever progress was built during the day. Men who commit to this structure consistently report something remarkable. They stop waking up feeling defeated. They stop dreading intimacy. They stop believing they are beyond help. Instead, they feel momentum building. They feel warmth, returning to places that have been numb for months or years. Their energy shifts. Their eyes look alive again, and they begin to understand what was actually lost, not their manhood, but their circulation. And circulation, as the science clearly shows, can be rebuilt. 9. The blend that can wake up blood flow in 30 to 90 minutes, most men will find this almost unbelievable. But the difference between a body that stays silent and a body that responds with real strength can come down to a single glass. One simple blend, based on sound vascular science, that can awaken blood flow so quickly that many men feel the change within 30 to 90 minutes. I have observed men who believe their best years were behind them experience a return of warmth, pressure, and firmness they hadn't felt in decades. And the emotion of those moments is overwhelming, not because of the physical reaction itself, but because of what it represents. Proof that the body was not gone. Proof that the story was not finished. Proof that the science was real. So here it is. The exact formula: half a teaspoon of baking soda, the juice of half a fresh lemon, 8 to 10 ounces of warm water. Mix and drink immediately while the effervescence is still active. That reaction you see in the glass is a reflection of what is occurring inside the bloodstream: vessels expanding, nitric oxide pathways activating, oxygen moving with renewed force through the body, pressure building toward the pelvic region. Many men begin to feel a subtle internal shift within the first hour, a warmth moving downward, a quiet inner pulse waking up, a sensation that something long dormant is beginning to stir. For others, the shift is more immediate, a moment when the body responds and the silence finally breaks. The timing is what elevates this formula from interesting to genuinely powerful. Taken in the early morning, it clears overnight acidity and primes vascular function for the entire day. Taken approximately 1 hour before intimacy, it becomes something far more targeted, an ignition mechanism. The combination of reduced acidity, dilated vessels, increased oxygenation, and activated nitric oxide creates the precise internal environment for a strong, dependable, natural erection, not pharmacologically forced, but physiologically supported, the kind that makes a man stand taller, breathe deeper, and feel genuinely alive again. And when a man experiences that shift, even once, something changes permanently. Fear dissolves. The wall between him and his partner begins to fall. He sees himself again, not as someone finished, but as someone recovering what was always rightfully his. 10. The moment every man must face before transformation begins here is the most important truth of all, and it may be the one that changes everything. The greatest barrier standing between a man and the return of strong natural erections is not his age, not his biology, and not even his vascular chemistry. It is the moment he finally stops hiding from himself. Every man who has sat across from me has faced this same crossroads. The moment he realizes the battle is no longer purely physical, it is emotional, it is internal. It is the quiet decision to stop pretending everything is fine and to confront what is happening with honesty and resolve. Because the most damaging consequence of losing erections is not the absence of response. It is the silence that follows. Men bury it. They deflect with humor. They smile while they are fracturing inside. They withdraw from intimacy, terrified of disappointing the person they love, while convincing themselves they are protecting their partner when they are really just guarding their own pain. And in that silence, something far more destructive than physical dysfunction begins to grow. Distance. Distance from connection. Distance from confidence. Distance from the man they once were. I have sat with men who spent years convincing themselves that nothing could be done. Men who believed they were beyond help. Men who thought that age had made the final decision for them. But here's what I know from both science and experience. The moment a man decides his story is not finished, the body follows. Because the body is not broken. It is waiting. Waiting for the right internal environment. Waiting for belief. Waiting for action. Waiting for the moment it is given the conditions to come back to life. And this is the moment you are standing in right now, not tomorrow, not someday. Now you have learned how nitric oxide governs blood flow. You have understood how internal acidity constricts circulation. You have discovered the scientifically grounded power of baking soda and lemon to restore a system that has been suppressed for too long. You have a step-by-step protocol that converts understanding into action and action into measurable results. You are no longer in the dark. You are no longer powerless. The question now is simple. Will you keep waiting, watching life move around you, hoping something changes on its own? Or will you take the first step and reclaim what has always belonged to you? Your strength, your confidence, your vitality, your connection. Conclusion, if you are still watching this. It means something inside you has awakened. Maybe it is the memory of the man you once were, strong, confident, grounded. Maybe it is the desire to feel fully alive again, to stand tall, to look in the mirror and recognize the clarity in your own eyes. Or maybe it is simply the quiet truth that you are tired of living in silence. Tired of pretending everything is fine. Tired of accepting the lie that growing older means surrendering who you are. The truth is, you are not broken. You are not weak. You are not finished. You are a man standing at the edge of possibility, and everything can change, starting now. Today you learned what most men will never hear from their physicians. You learned why erections fade, not because of age or desire or character, but because blood flow weakens when nitric oxide drops and internal acidity rises. You discovered the vascular science behind baking soda's power to neutralize acidity and reopen the pathways that carry blood to the penis. You learned about the partner ingredient that ignites the biochemical reaction, restoring the signal that tells your body to respond. You now hold the daily formula and optimal timing that can unlock results many men feel within 30 to 90 minutes. You understand the pelvic floor multiplier that locks in pressure with force and duration. You have the checklist that turns intention into real, measurable progress. You heard the truth about the foods and habits that silently suppress your strength. And above all, you witnessed the genuine possibility of transformation, not someday, not in theory, but now. The real question is not whether the body can respond. It can. It wants to. It is physiologically capable. The real question is whether you will take the first step, whether you will stop believing that your best days are behind you, whether you will choose science over despair, action over avoidance, possibility over fear. Because every man who transforms his life reaches a moment when he decides he has suffered long enough. A moment when he refuses to let shame make his decisions. A moment when he chooses to fight for himself, for his relationship, for his future. Maybe this is that moment for you. Maybe this is the moment you say, I am not done. I am not giving up. I am taking control of my body and my life again. If that is true for you, then start today. Try the formula. Commit to the checklist. Do the breathing. Do the work. Because when the blood returns, when strength returns, when confidence returns, it will not just change your body, it will change everything. And when that day comes, you will not just feel alive again. You will feel unstoppable. Dr. William Lee.